Welcome to the Pastor's Connection podcast, where we delve into the heart of ministry and explore the challenges and triumphs of pastoral life. Join us as we connect with inspiring leaders, share insightful stories, and equip one another with tools for effective ministry. Together, we can foster a community of support, encouragement, and growth in our calling. Today's episode is brought to you by BroTech Design. BroTech Design is your go-to destination for exceptional web design and reliable hosting solutions. They create stunning websites that captivate your audience and ensure seamless performance, helping your church or business thrive online. Elevate your digital presence with their tailored services at BroTech Design. You can contact them today at info@brotech.design for assistance and to transform your online experience. On today's episode, we have a friend of mine, Fred Murray, who is here. He is the he is the admin pastor of Southern Hills Church in Las Vegas, Nevada, and is a part of Ministry Books with his brother Dan. Good to have you here, Fred. How's everything going?
Going well, enjoying life.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on here today. We are going to be talking about leading your church through a building project, which they just completed another one at Southern Hills. We'll hear more about that in a second. Before we do that, Fred, just to kind of connect with our audience and those who don't know you, can you share a little bit about your family with us?
Yeah, so we are Las Vegas born and raised. We had a couple stints. Kelly, my wife, and I had a stint in Texas when I was young. She was in California when she was a little bit younger. But essentially, since 10 on, we've both been living in Vegas. Both went to college in Florida at Pensacola, where we met you. And we actually didn't know each other through high school. And so we went to the same church at two different stages, and then we got connected at Pensacola, um, and just got to know each other there through hanging out through the same people groups. Liberty Group, the Zeta Chi group, everybody kind of knew each other there. In college, I kind of chased her around for a year, and she kind
Nice.
of ignored me. But hey, it is what it is. I finally wore her down, so thankful for that. Um,
Persistence pays off.
yes, it does, especially when the goal is very grand. And so very thankful for that. We got married at the end of my junior year, and she taught for 3 years at PCA down there in Florida while I finished up my undergrad and my master's. And then shortly after that, we moved out to Vegas. Did not have kids for I think 7 years. So it was just us hanging out, working at Southern Hills. I served as an associate admin guy, and she was at the church secretary for 7 years. And then Shepard came along. He is our oldest. He is now 13. And since then, she's just had a out of office role leading in various aspects of kids ministry at the church. 2 years later, after Shepard, Liam came along. He's our Spitfire. Shepard's a clone of me, and Liam basically is a clone of Kelly. And so
Nice.
it's a nice dynamic to even watch those two together. We basically our life is church and hockey, and the occasional Gulf Coast vacation. And so right now we're just finishing up our 10th hockey season, so we do two a year. They've been playing for 5 years, and they're both doing very well. It's just a great way for us, whose life is so wrapped up in church, to get out in the community and get to know people who some people love Jesus and some people don't even know who he is. And so it's just a
Yeah.
great way to get the boys out there and meet lost people or and growing people and hurting people outside of the church setting. So yeah, it's church, hockey, and we'll talk about this later. But right now, also work with my brother Dan in Ministry Books. So we've got some family stuff going on there as well. So both sets of Murrays out here in Vegas are very close, and thankful for that relationship as well. So
Now, your wife has a business also, right?
yeah, so it's funny. So Kelly started off as a no elementary education major, but she's always been an avid reader. Through COVID, I think the first year of COVID. well, the first 6 months, 7 months, she read 120 books. She just loves reading, but
Wow.
she's always had this uncanny ability to pick up proofreading mistakes. She'll even buy a book from like a national publisher or something that would say like Fox News would publish from one of their, personalities, and she would find literally 2 to 3 errors per chapter. Um, and so she was doing homeschooling for a bit, and then her homeschooling crew decided to move to the East Coast and take a church. And so the kids went with their parents because they had no choice. I said, I simply asked her, like, what do you love doing? And she's like, I'm thinking about doing proofreading. And so she started a company called proof2publish.co. And essentially, what she does there is she can take writers. I know she's done some work for you and Lysandra,
Yes.
and take writers and get them published through Amazon. I think it's called Amazon KDP,
Yep.
which is a basic, real fast, affordable way to get your content out there. She's also partnered with some other larger products through publishing a company called Mindster. She's got a couple of books going through them for some people who want to put more investment in. So she can do the basic, hey, I want to spend $2,000 and get a book out to Amazon. Cool. Or if you want to go big bucks, she can help you go through Mindster and get self-published that way. But proofreading, editing, formatting, and for churches, she even does proofreading and editing of the weekly sermon slides and newsletters. And so just something she's been very good at. And it's a great way for her to help people in the church community. I would say half of her clients or more are pastors or ministries that are trying to get sermon notes out, devotionals out, um, sermons into books, whatever it may be. She's doing really well with it. So that's her passion, and she really loves it. So
Yeah, and she is great to work with. My wife and I have hired her to help us with two of our books, and it's been a great experience. We plan to continue to use her. You gave that website where they can reach her. You know, we've got pastors, ministry leaders out there,
yeah,
and many of them are looking for, they want to get content out there. They want to write a book. They don't really know how to do it. So I think that
yeah.
Kelly would be a great resource for them. So can you just give us that website one more time where people can reach out to her?
Yeah, it's proof2publish.co. So proof number two publish.co is the website for her. And usually it's about a 2 to 3 month process. Once the original manuscript comes that way, you probably know more about it than I do. And so, but it's not a long haul. But she really enjoys working with pastors and church leaders, getting ministry content out there, and she'll also work with authors who write fiction as well. And she's done a couple fiction books too. So
Yeah, so great. You guys are jam packed with a lot going on. I love your heart to help churches and ministries and people accomplish what they feel like they need to accomplish and what God wants them to accomplish. So that's a little bit about your family there. What about your church background? You talked about working for Southern Hills. Can you kind of give us the background for that and years experience and all that kind of stuff?
absolutely. So Southern Hills has been my one place of employment, but various different roles. And so I've I graduated from PTS, Pensacola Theological, in 2007. Shortly after, moved back out to Vegas to work with Josh Tice. He started Southern Hills in 2004, and I immediately came on as the youth pastor and the bookkeeper. Um, and so that was almost 18 years ago. And I've seen the
Wow.
church grow from about 160 when we got there. Our first Sunday there was the first Sunday at two services. So 160, and now we're averaging roughly about 1,400 on a Sunday in Sunday attendance. Um, so first starting off, yeah, had a youth group of three and grew that to 40 or 50 before I turned it over to my good buddy Steve Miller. And so did that, then really became the official admin pastor, probably about year two, year three, running the finances, legal, HR. Served in that role for about 10 years. Had about a 3 to 4 year stint as the EP, which is the executive pastor. Um, and so, which had more of a staff leadership role. as far as leading all the staff, but the building project, there's a balance you have to do, and so what we did
Yeah.
is we split up the EP role, moved me back to admin, which has given me more margin for family, buildings, ministry books, things like that. And Pastor Caleb's done a phenomenal job leading the staff, staff meetings, staff training, care. I still do all the bookkeeping, payroll, legal research, facility directing. Um, and so in between those stints, I've served as missions director, children's director, obviously youth pastor. Only thing I haven't done is senior pastor and music because I have no skill sets there whatsoever. So it's been a fun journey, which makes conversations like this fun because the one thing about church that I have found is if you try to lock yourself into one role, it can get very monotonous and boring.
Yeah.
But if you do multiple things, it gets fun. And you know this as a church planner, you're doing everything at times, and you like, yeah, that's great, that's fun. Now I need to delegate a bit, and then that passion comes back again. So it's always been fun and exciting, always various things to do. I never thought I would be doing building projects, but it is a fun aspect of the job that is very rewarding through the process and also when it's done.
Well, and I know having somebody who can handle that and lead the charge on that for me is invaluable because the admin stuff and keeping track of all that stuff is not my forte and expertise. And the building project we did in Iowa, I was very fortunate to have a guy who was in charge of every single day multi-million dollar construction things all over our town. And so he could kind of lead that and just keep me up to speed. So I'm thankful for people like you who have a passion for it and can do it very well. We're recording this in March, and you guys just opened up your brand new facility just a few weeks ago in February, isn't
Yep.
that right?
Mhm. Yeah, just February 24th, I think. It's all blurring together. But I know it's been 4 weeks and it's been a lot of fun. We opened up a 16,000 square foot adult auditorium uh, that seats 900 right now. Already in talks with our chair company to add 400 more, just because it's getting tight even at 900.
Yeah.
Because we went from a three service schedule to a two service schedule. Um, in our first Sunday, we had 1,775 people. It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and so it's a nice, open, modern auditorium, theater style seating from Series seating there in Miami. Phenomenal team there, great to work with. Um, and it's just nice. The nice thing about having a two service schedule is even though not everybody goes the same service, we're having a lot more people crossing paths. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I
So they can
forgot.
see each other on a regular
Yes,
basis at
yes.
least.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I forgot you go here. And what's happening is they're actually fellowshipping because we also moved our service times further apart. So church community is actually happening in the middle in between the services. And so the two service schedule's been much better for that aspect at least than a three service schedule. But it's a fun auditorium. It's really it's just beautiful. But it took a long time to get going. So we're thankful to be in it and excited to see how God uses it in the coming years. So,
And this is your second building project, right? Didn't you have one just like 9 years ago? I think I saw you
yeah,
posted something about that.
yeah. So this is the second building. It's the fourth construction project at Southern Hills, and actually sixth construction project at Southern Hills that I've overseen. So a basketball court landscape project, church sign project, two build outs of our old facility. But our first major building project was in 2015, 2016. That was our first building, which many people that have been to Idea Day events. That's the one we all scurried around
Yes.
every Tuesday in January. And so, but yeah, second project, and definitely a lot of work. And it's good to have a good team outside of the church helping you through it as well. There's a lot of people I've had to rely upon just because the expertise level is much higher than mine. And so,
Yeah.
but I
So
look at
what
it from
is
a church perspective, yeah. And so,
okay? So what is it that originally inspired you guys to embark on this building project? That's the current one, and how do you determine the need for that within your community?
oh yeah, great question. So for us, it was the growth of our kids ministry really drove the construction. And so prior to COVID, um, our kids ministry was running in the elementary age, first, second through fifth grade, running about 115, 120 kids, but they couldn't fit in the classrooms that we had upstairs. You've been in the rooms upstairs in that
Yeah.
building. They're they're basically capped out 30, 40 people max. So what we did pre-COVID is there's a charter school that is right behind our property that we rented out their multi-purpose room, and it was going great. We would have, that early morning service, 20 kids, second, third service, 60 kids apiece. Plenty of room, nice and relaxed. But once COVID hit, all the schools shut down.
Oh yeah.
And so we opened up probably about 10 weeks after the initial shutdown. And as we were growing back, we were quickly running out of room for our kids in our current facility because the school was basically shut down for about a year and a half, 2 years to us. And in that
Wow.
season, 'cause they were concerned about mitigation, cleanliness, all that stuff.
Sure.
Even though their school was going on, they didn't want anybody outside using the facility, which I understand.
Yeah.
So, so what happened at the time, Caleb Sargent, who was serving our EP, who was serving as our student director at the time, he's like, "Hey, can we just get like a tent outside on the basketball court to put these kids in?" And so the investigation of what it take to cost to it, put a tent up, led to what would it cost to put up a basketball gym, which led us to what's the cost of putting up a auditorium. And so the cost analysis made most sense to put up a full-fledged auditorium and then allow our kids to move out of the school and then move into our first building.
Okay.
And so the growth of kids ministry and what we saw during COVID, um, Vegas was really, really strict on its COVID protocols. When it first hit that first quarter, everybody went to video
Yep.
school, and half the, I remember hearing teachers saying in the hockey arena, because I knew a lot of teachers there, they were having 25% attendance of kids showing up on video school.
Wow.
And then the following year, it was a hybrid of video slash on in campus. It was just a mess, and we saw the emotional toll that it was taking on the kids. We also saw, because Las Vegas has a lot of first generation Christians, we also saw that when it came to discipleship, a lot of people were um, being more obedient to the government than to God. Now, I'm not saying
Sure.
that you should disobey government. But there's a balance there.
Yeah.
And we just felt like discipleship was a high priority for us, and we wanted to disciple families. And so we had the facility to disciple the parents, but we did not have an adequate facility to disciple the kids. And we felt the kids were the ones who were having who were most negatively impacted by COVID. And so we really wanted to invest in them by essentially building a new auditorium that the adults could take, and we could literally turn the old one into a 16 or 14,000 square foot kid space. So they had their own place. They weren't walking across the street to a building that nobody knew.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was the idea. The goal was to reach kids in the community because we felt kids were being under discipled and they were going through a very difficult time.
And do you remember how long the time span was from, hey, can we put a tent up to, what we need to do is just build an auditorium? Like, how long was that time period where you guys were
Yeah.
crunching numbers and figuring everything out?
It was about 9 months because we first investigated the tents. What I mean by tents is Vegas, when they do these um, big conventions, they have these massive tents that are fully air conditioned, fully heated.
Yeah.
They can withstand a lot of wind. You've seen them around. It's not just a circus
Yep.
tent.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that. It's like, okay, we're talking 400, 500,000 bucks.
Wow.
And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what is a basketball court? We have the basketball court. What's it cost to build a gym around this? We're talking 1.5, $2 million, 1.5 to 2 million. And so basically everything was like a 3 month parameter. Okay, now it's what would it cost to build a building? Because if we build the gym, we're going to spend 2 million bucks, and we know we're going to have to build the building anyways. So why
Right.
not? Let's just build the building first. And we may build the gym eventually, but we had to build the building first, and that was another 3 months of investigation. So it's about a 9 month project from, hey, Caleb's conversation of can we get a tent to no, we're doing a building. So essentially, it was January of 22 to October of 22 was that conversation
Okay.
that took place there. And so it was 9 months because we didn't want to just sit there and say, okay, we looked at the website for the tents, we didn't like it. No, we actually went and got into it. What's the price? What's the cost? What's the needs? What's the county going to say? Yada yada yada. And we really did 3 months due diligence on each aspect of it, and ended up at the building at the end of 9 months. So.
Um, so when I like the creative thought behind, okay, how can we creatively overcome some of these problems that we have with our facility? Do you have any advice for pastors and ministry leaders who are listening right now who are feeling a crunch one way or another because of their facilities, and how they can creatively think through some of those processes?
Yeah, so obviously, if you're feeling the crunch, the people are feeling the crunch. COVID changed the comfortability. It used to be pre-COVID, people were comfortable at 80% capacity. I don't know the exact number now, but it's got to be less than that,
Yeah.
75, 65, whatever it may be. So if you're feeling the crunch, everybody else is. So you just got to be willing to adjust your schedule to meet the demand. And so if you're going to, let's say, for instance, you go from one service to two services, that's an easy fix. But also on the same side, make sure that you're adjusting your Monday through Saturday schedule to not take away from your family and get your rest and get have your margin for um, spiritual refreshment. So the first step, if like, hey, I'm running out of space, the creative thing is to do multiple services.
Yeah.
Now that's been around forever. There's always the fear. If you do multiple services, you had to make sure that you have volunteers who are able to meet that demand. So you can't just sit there and say, "Hey, we've had a tough week. We're going to multiple services in 2 weeks." You've had no time to prep your volunteers. You'll have, 80%, 20% breakdown in your attendance between the two services. Um, so things like multiple services, things like renting out nearby facilities if there's something nearby. We're
Yeah.
at the point now where we're looking at where can we rent parking from, because the
Oh
two
yeah.
service schedule, parking is something that we're really looking into. Can we rent spaces, shuttle people? We don't have 37 acres like Saddleback does in Southern California.
Yeah.
And so where they can drive you from 3 miles away and you're still on their property. And so, but the idea is just being willing and able to multiple services, rented facilities that are close by, being creative with parking, being creative with schedule. Years ago, because of space, we transitioned from the traditional Sunday school model to the small group model. So what's happening was we'd tell these people, hey, go to our Sunday school classes. They'd walk in the room and it's jam packed.
Yeah.
And they would walk away and leave and they would never find community. And so there's lots of crazy ideas that you can do and multiple services, things like that, that if properly planned can work very, very well. And so again, Sunday is the day. So it's like, oh man, my Sunday's gonna be more busy. Yes, Sunday is busy,
Yeah.
but you're a pastor. You can chill on Monday. You can make sure your Saturday is relaxed, or Thursday, whatever. You're the senior pastor. You can modify your schedule, whatever it need be. But anything and everything to win souls is the idea. In the Philippines, for instance, I have a missionary friend who literally, because of facility, runs church 7 days a week.
Wow.
I'm not recommending that, but they,
Yeah.
they, they do church 7 days a week at 6 o'clock at night. And
Wow.
just because their building seats 100 people, but they minister to 1,000. And
Yeah.
so that's an extreme example, but it's a pastor that said, hey, look, I'm going to be working at nighttime, 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock every night. I'll be resting in the mornings. He's totally modified his life schedule to be able to accomplish that mindset. Um, so I would get buy-in. I would ask questions, get buy-in, and look for creative ways. And who knows where the tent will lead to. I was never thinking when we had
Yeah.
the tent conversation, we'd end up at a building conversation. But typically through counsel, bringing it to other people. If it was just me making the call and me and Caleb making the call, at that moment we would have bought a tent and nobody would have known better. but
Yeah.
obviously Pastor Josh was included, other pastoral staff was included in that conversation. And so the initial crazy idea can lead to a very good idea when you bring the other counselors in. So it's okay to start with crazy, but bring
Yeah.
people in and you'll get to common sense workable eventually.
So obviously, I'm sure that you guys had conversations about running a fourth service. What was the thing that kind of tipped the scales, where it was like we don't want to add another service? We feel like building a building is, well, first getting the tent, but then building a building
Yeah.
was the route we should take.
Yeah, we really wanted just to stay out of prison. We did four services after right before building number one for about 3 months, and we all hated each other. We were so exhausted. Um, there's many times that we had Akeem Smith working on our staff at the time. After the third service, Josh would be like, "I'm done, dude. Um, I need you to preach this fourth service for me." And it was a
Yeah.
chance for him to grow and things like that. So the fourth service is something that we did. It just was not healthy. Now we did try a Saturday evening service at stints during COVID, and all it was really was just our core people that would come, and they would end up coming back Sunday morning to serve. And so it's like,
Sure.
okay, that's just a waste. Um, and because of space, we thought about going to a fourth service on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock in our current building, but the problem was that's where our youth group met. And our youth group was over the size of any classroom that we could support. And
Yeah.
so that nixed that idea. Because most churches now in Vegas are going from Sunday morning two services to the Sunday evening service because those people who work in the casino industry are able to attend one of those two services, or two or three services over those two different time spans, if you will. So
Okay. Yeah. So ministry leaders who are listening, it's important to make sure that you're taking time to balance out, the impact on all of your, volunteers and all of that stuff as you decide, hey, do we add another service, or do we look for some other creative solution? So how did you guys engage your congregation in the vision for the building project, and what strategies did you use to gain their support that some of these pastors who are listening can maybe learn and glean some things from?
yeah, this is something I really thought in this building project. There's things that I felt like, man, we could have done this better. Still dealing with a couple of those things on the closeout side. But this is one area I thought we did very well in, thanks to the people who helped us out. Um, so one of the things that we did is we contacted a friend of ours, Robbie Green, who had just finished up a building project in Dallas, there at Levon Drive, and
Okay.
he basically sat down with us and said, "Look, here's the simple game plan. It comes from the concept from a book called Not Your Parents' Offering Plate." He says
Great book. Great book.
yeah, you need to establish vision with your core team before you present to anybody else. And so what we did is after the end of that 9 month period, we spent a month as a staff talking about, okay, um, we're going to do a building. Is everybody behind it? Let's go. What the initial cost? $3.5 million, whatever. We had the basic things dialed in. What we decided to do is put together it was so simple and silly. It was on Apple Pages. I put together a booklet of like 12 pages of why we needed a new building.
Mm-hmm.
Got some artist renderings, put some text in there. But story from Josh, Pastor Caleb shared some stories in there. So what's going on with kids ministry, and just basically made a vision booklet.
Okay.
And what we did is we guessed, because we can't know this for sure, we guessed who the top 50 donors were in our church, based off of annual giving and then just business. Hey, this person owns a business, because not always is like, for instance, we have a business owner who's retired that is not one of our top tithers, but was our top giver in this project. So you have to, like,
Okay. Yeah.
look for business owners, look for retired business owners that, hey, they've been successful. So we put together a list of 50 people. And what Pastor Josh and I did is we had essentially meetings with those 50 people broken down into groups of three or four
Okay.
in the month of October of 2022, I believe. And it was just about 15 to 20 conversations about, hey, here's the need, here's the vision, what kind of involvement can you have? And we basically said at that point, do not make a decision. We're going to invite you to a presentation dinner at a local restaurant the first week of December. Um, was the idea. And we had a dinner. We presented the whole project, basically the same presentation, just slightly expanded at a restaurant. And we asked people to give. So there were about 50 families, or sorry, yeah, 50 families who were asked to give before that was even brought up to the church at all.
Okay.
Um,
So you asked them to give literally at the dinner.
Pledge at least. And so
Okay.
yeah,
Pledge at least. Okay.
so we asked for a 3-year pledge because we this is the multi-million dollar project.
Yeah.
Even if you have millions, it takes a while to get it. Like we have had people that said, "Hey, look, I can give you 250 grand, but I need to have a really firm conversation with my financial advisor first."
Sure.
And that conversation is going to happen in 3 months. And so it's not like, "Hey, cut the check right now."
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why we did a multi-year, 3-year thing so people could give over time. And so at that banquet, and the couple weeks following that banquet, we had, I think, 1.1 million committed from those 50 families.
Excellent.
And so about $1 million that we could take to the church and say, hey, look, and so those 50 families committed. So, hey, look, we've had $1 million before we present church, we've had $1 million of buy-in on at the time a $3.5 million project.
Yeah.
And so then in January, late January, early February, I think it was actually Super Bowl Sunday, we present to our church, the whole church, the idea of the same presentation that was given earlier. So we hit our most invested people, then we hit our committed people, because you're coming to church on Super Bowl Sunday, you're committed.
Yeah.
That's when we presented to them the project as a whole. And that presentation yielded another 1.7 million. So in a 3 to 5 month span, we had raised roughly $2.7 million in commitments for the project, which allowed us to pay for, we had money come in, allowed us to pay for the architect. We had to buy deposits
Sure.
on chairs, equipment. And because it was just after COVID, all the, there was lead times on things like air conditioners. It took a year to get an air conditioner. It
Oh, that's
took a
crazy.
it took a year to get what's called a switch gear. It's that big power box on the outside of the building. So we had to pay for that stuff cash, uh, pretty much a year before we even had our building permit.
Wow.
Um, so that's what that fundraiser really did. And so the first phase, again, the idea of Not Your Parents' Offering Plate, cast a vision so people will give to vision. If you don't have vision, they're not going to give. And so one of my
Yeah.
favorite stories in that book is the pastor of the local church that gets kind of offended with the family who gave $2 million to the hospital project.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, there's needs here. What's going on? And they simply said, the hospital cast vision. You did not. And so that really helped us cast the vision because we had children who were displaced because of COVID. We need a spot for them to serve or to worship and to serve. So therefore, we need to build a place to get the adults out of their way.
Yeah.
And so that's how that project started. And we've done 2 subsequent fundraisers, just smaller ones after that, have raised an additional $1 million to go towards the building itself. And so it's fundraising was a lot of fun, a lot of personal conversations, a lot of follow up, a lot of vision casting. And Pastor Josh did the best job with it. He was the chief vision caster for that project. And so,
Yeah, and I would think for the pastors who are out there listening, the lead pastor almost has to be, right? Unless he literally just has no ability to exude passion, which would be a weird thing for him to be the lead at that point. But that booklet that you have, do you have a PDF or something of that somewhere that we could maybe link to, that people could take a look at that to see, kind
yeah,
of get an idea of what you're talking about?
yeah, I can definitely send that over to you.
Okay, and we'll try to put that in the show notes for those who are listening, so you can kind of get an idea of what they did
You're
at
gonna
Southern
you're
Hills.
gonna you're gonna look at it and laugh and say, "Man, this is simple and cheesy," but it raised $1 million. And so,
Yeah, yeah, I'd say
I'll take it.
it worked.
It's definitely not a graphic design masterpiece by any means. So,
Yeah, and that's okay, right? So
yeah.
it did the job that it needed to do, but it gives people something tangible to hold on to, and it's
Mhm.
like, no, we've thought about this carefully, and um, it allows people to buy into something. Um, so let's talk a little bit about the new building and the role that that will play moving forward in enhancing your church's outreach and community involvement.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, with a building, I want to be very clear, a building is simply a tool in the church's toolbox to reach people.
Yeah,
If you are waiting on your building to reach people, you're wasting your time. The momentum that
excellent point.
Southern Hills is currently experiencing now, in my opinion, comes from a sermon series that Pastor Caleb preached about a year ago when Josh was traveling. And it was basically about the church being on mission. And it was more about discipleship, fellowship, community than it was what our how our seats were. And so our building plays a role simply because it's just a box that people can sit in because they're already doing community work. And so now it is cool for people to sit there and see, like I got people in the hockey community, like, hey, it's cool to see that building. Had a couple guys already come because they follow me on Facebook, watching the building progress.
Yeah.
It has that involvement, but the mindset has to be this is a tool because I'm going to be a disciple of Jesus, and I'm going to be an evangelizer. I'm not talking about giving the gospel every single second, but the
Yeah.
idea of it's a tool. So in the construction phase, it's a tool. In its new phase, it's a tool. We've had people drive by um, just recently, led a couple to Christ at Starbucks last month that saw the building being built and they wanted to get married in it. I said, before you get married,
Okay.
let's talk about your spiritual condition. And took them to Starbucks. They got saved. They've been coming ever last 3 or 4 weeks.
Awesome.
Cool Catholic family. So again, a building is a tool, um, but the church's existence can't depend upon it.
Yeah.
If a COVID hit again, how would the church function? And so that's where community comes in. But on one sense, it's a gigantic billboard that people see as they come
Yep.
down one of our main highways. That's good. Um, but our goal is to use this building to do exactly what we were doing before. If you're going to come into a building and think, okay, we're going to start all these things now, um, you're going to have too many issues with the building itself to be able to effectively start ministries and procedures that take place. Even something
Sure.
as simple as redoing how I did the ushers. I started that process 15 months earlier. Something as simple as, ushers, here's how we're going to start serving people now. That was a 15-month project before the building even opened.
Wow.
And so I don't want to downplay the question. A
Yep.
building will help. People will see it. It's exciting. People want to come in and check it out. But the main thing is making sure your ministries and process are in place before you get to that point. So um, ministry keeps functioning the way that it always should. And so you don't want to be in a waiting period. Okay, now we're going to do ministry.
Yeah.
Dave Tice used to always say, if you don't do ministry today, you're not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
so it's there's that's just one thing I've learned through this project. The building's great, even through the delays. We still had the building was probably about 8 to 9 months behind when we wanted it, but we still had
Okay.
over 100 plus salvations, over 100 plus baptisms. Ministry was still happening. The church was still growing. And so again, it's so what now it is. It's a place where we can put more people in, but the functionality has to still be the same. And so
Yeah.
now we
Well,
do
and I
things
like
differently. Yeah, good.
I was just going to say, I like that mindset because I know there are pastors and churches out there that view a building as a silver bullet. Like if we just had our ideal facility, whether it's upgraded, updated, a new building, or in our case, we set up and tear down in a high school
Yeah.
gymnasium every week. It's like
Mhm.
some people have the mindset that if we just had a building, then everything would just go and that would be the magic bullet, silver bullet. And it's just not the
Yeah.
case.
It presents a new set of problems. So we were in a storefront warehouse that sat 400 people. If we're 350 people, if we're lucky, prior to the first building, we had a ton of people leave because the church was too big. We're like, oh,
Oh,
we
sure.
didn't foresee this. I mean, we've heard people say it, we're like, but
We're different. Yeah, we're different.
we're different. Yeah, we're different. And so having stuff in place prior to your church DNA can't be based in a facility. All it takes is one accident and the building goes up in smoke.
Yeah.
or one pandemic and the building is just locked for however many weeks you want to fight the government on that. Um, and so it's a great tool that we have. And what it's done for our staff is give us more margin. The setup tear down is easier, which I know that's one thing you're looking forward to on your end.
Yes.
Um, but there's some things that are simpler with it. There's also a new set of problems. People wanting this aspect. Hey, where's my nicer basketball court? Where's my kitchen? Where's all the office space? It's
Yeah.
a whole other set of issues. But it's a good tool to reach people with, and but it can't be your sole existence.
So, 4 short weeks since things have opened up there in your new facility, what is the impact that you've already seen taking place? I know you talked a little bit about the fellowship and connection of people in between.
Fellowship and evangelism. So one thing I don't want to discount the new building is people like inviting their friends.
Yeah.
And so the fellowship aspect's been great, but it's the idea of, hey, come check out a new building. And we've had a ton of first time guests simply because of that. So I don't want to discount the idea of a building can't be helpful.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of first time guests, a lot of second time guests, a lot of people that returning that have been gone for a while, coming back. Had a coffee meeting last week where a gentleman that was in the singles group at Liberty Baptist 30 years ago before my mom got remarried,
Wow.
um, is back. And this last Sunday was his first Sunday serving as an usher.
Oh, great.
And so it's serving opportunities. I went from 15 consistent ushers every week to 32 consistent ushers. So there's things that's helped. Like serving's gotten more, people are taking it more seriously. They're taking
Yeah.
their serving more seriously, their fellowship more seriously, and their evangelism more seriously. Um, in Vegas, when you have something nice, there's this expectation of professionalism. And our
Yeah.
people naturally get that. If you go to T-Mobile Arena, Allegiant Stadium, the Bellagio, this town is trained when they see something nice that the game goes higher, and
Sure.
you just take things more seriously now. And so that's been an aspect of that fellowship, evangelism, serving have all gone up in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So
And I think once again, that's because you view it as a tool in the church's tool belt. And so we want to use this tool
yeah.
as effectively as possible. Um, so, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from the building project that you would share with other pastors who are considering similar endeavors?
Yeah, so number one, have a consultant. And so I would say even for us, um, project number 6 for me, I know a lot of stuff on it, but I don't know everything.
Yeah,
And so number one, the senior pastor should not be leading the project. He's leading the
I
fundraising,
agree.
but he's
Yes.
not leading the construction
Yeah.
um, aspect on that. So have in areas of where you can pay for consultants. So, for
Okay.
instance, what I do is I consult on how a church perspective on a building project, but I'm not going to be a consultant when it comes to your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Sure.
Have somebody do that. I'm not going to be a consultant when it comes to your audio. Pay the money and pay the consultants. So, have an audio visual consultant. Have, whether it's a guy in your church that knows construction forward and backwards,
Yeah.
pay him money, because if you pay him, he feels obligated. Even if it's $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, he feels obligated.
Yep.
Pay for professional consultants. And then there's guys like me who have done this that can be the ministry consultant. So I'm not going to be the consultant on like, hey, um, that wall measurement on those plans looks off. That's above my skill set. Like I
Yeah.
sit there and say, okay, I know how to shield the pastor from all the building project drama. I know how to ask all the questions. And so maybe that is a guy like me that you have on staff. Or in your community that can shield the pastor and be that ministry liaison. So there's a ministry
Okay.
liaison in the project that shields the senior pastor from having to deal with the project. Then there is the professionals. So I've acted as ministry liaison multiple times. But you need a guy who's done construction that can read the plans, that can hold the GC, architect, engineer's feet to the fire. And when it comes to things like audio visual, sound guys are great, but you need a guy who really knows his stuff if you want a good quality sound system. So what I have learned in this project is I know what my role is now, ministry liaison. I help churches build buildings, but I also know the guys to help me get the technical stuff done. And so take as much off the senior pastor as you can. We did that well. I served well as a ministry liaison. One thing I would have done better is on this project, I would have had more input from the consultants and maybe less input from our team because our consultants have real life work knowledge in those
Sure.
fields versus, hey, like for me, I can put together a sound system, but it's 10 YouTube videos from Behringer and it's a
Yeah.
baseline system. When you're talking high end $300,000-$400,000 systems, that's way above me. So consult in the right areas is the biggest thing that we've learned through this project because simply put, after COVID, the construction world is completely different. If you built a
Yeah.
building pre-COVID, um, it was easy compared to now. And so those consultants know all the issues, they're up to date. And so consultant use is key in building projects. So.
Now, did you hire local consultants? Do you have national consultants that you recommend? How did you guys go about that, finding those
Yeah,
guys?
Yeah, so on our first project, I carried over just from a Q&A quality control or QC aspect. Our first consultant, Charles Frazier, worked in Vegas, built a couple other churches, and so he completely did the first project. And then him and I have tag teamed and almost in the ministry liaison role this time around.
Okay.
Um, and I would say one thing that we would have done better is I wish he would have had a heavier role in this project along the way. But it's kind of hard when you're a business owner in Florida trying to do a project out in Vegas because he
Sure.
transitioned over to the Orlando area. And on the AV side, working companies are great to work with, but you always need a guy representing your best interest. And
Okay.
so, hey, you got an AV company, they may be nationally known, great, but find a guy who knows tech that can work on your behalf. Because even the AV company is going to throw stuff at you and they're talking lingo and it just goes right over your head.
Sure.
So Charles Fraser is a guy who I used here in Vegas that worked very well. I'm sure there's other national ones, but find a local expert. That way
Okay.
you're not having to pay for flights and things like that, but a local expert and typically find out who the mega church in your community uses. That's
Yeah.
the easiest thing to do because they're not going to pick some guy who doesn't know what he's talking about. So
Most
find,
likely not. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So find who their consultant was in construction and audiovisual, whatever it may be, and get their help. And so there's three levels of consulting. There's the church liaison, that's the pastor, that's the staff member such as myself, or the ministry book / consultant that works alongside the pastor. Then there's the construction guys, and then there's the technical guys that do the consulting for what they call FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment. That's the speakers, that's the chairs, that's all the extra furniture that goes into the building. Those are three different aspects that you would need in a project. And so,
Okay.
yep,
Excellent. I appreciate that information.
yep.
We mentioned ministry books at the beginning. Just mention it again. Can you kind of share for those who are unfamiliar with ministry books and the consulting and stuff that you guys do, kind of what you guys do, what you have to offer, and how you can be a help to other ministry leaders?
Yeah, so Ministry Books was the brainchild of my brother Dan about 2 years ago. He, like me, has served in the admin pastor role. Him 12, me now 18, so there's 30 years of experience there. And Danny has always done on the side, he's always done church bookkeeping for smaller churches, just helping them out with their bookkeeping. He's always just loved the bookkeeping side of things. I like it, but he loves it.
Yeah.
And so he's just super passionate about it. And he went actually served in two church settings that really prepared him for this because the finance teams on both those churches love God, did great, and they asked great questions. And he was forced to answer very good and difficult questions, which he's able to help pastors out now when they're doing their month-end reports. So Ministry Books is essentially a bookkeeping payroll consulting company that helps churches bridge the gap. What I mean by that is some churches, when they're first starting out, get very qualified former CPAs and accountants that serve on a volunteer basis
Yeah.
that are just crucial to church success at the initial stages. What happens is the church gets bigger, their time gets busier, and they're still doing good work, but it may not be done on time or things like that. So we're bridging the gap between the free church bookkeeper and also the church bookkeeping department that costs $300,000 a year,
Yeah.
because you have an admin pastor who can do bookkeeping. You also have a bookkeeper who can do bookkeeping. You have an accounts payable person who can do bookkeeping, and so we're trying to bridge that gap from small to too big. And so
Okay.
that's why pre-COVID, we found that some positions in the church world could be outsourced. Graphic design has been one for years.
Yep.
Even before that, people would bring in local musicians to play on their worship team as long as they were believers. But with QuickBooks essentially going all online in the last 5 years, bookkeeping has been huge because you can have face-to-face conversations through Zoom, Google Chat, whatever the platform may be. So our goal is to be essentially church admin for the 21st century, quality payroll, quality bookkeeping, and then in May, when we brought Pastor Caleb up to EP at Southern Hills, gave me some more margin. We opened up a consulting side. And the idea of consulting is anything a church needs from an admin pastor.
Okay.
Basically, hey, look, I need help getting my systems set up, assimilation, retention, stewardship, serving, small groups. We can assist in that. Hey, I need help with a building project. I need somebody sitting in the meetings helping me understand as a pastor what they're talking about. Um, I need help training my volunteers and staff. So the consulting is the concept of having an admin pastor available to you without having to pay what's the national average, like 75K for an admin pastor on your staff. Plus you're
Yeah.
throwing in benefits. And so our goal is to drastically reduce the cost and have us come and support your existing team and train them or work alongside them to help. And so one of the things I always say to people asking about consulting, I'll be very clear. This is not the mindset that Fred knows more than you. It's the concept that Fred has margin in these areas or has already done this stuff and can easily share with you. Like earlier you said,
Yeah.
hey, can you share that book about the capital campaign? Yeah. File, copy, send off. It's already been done.
Yeah.
So it's basically using my 18 and Danny's 12 years of church admin experience to provide resources quickly to pastors so they don't have to reinvent the wheel, is the idea there. So again, it's our goal is to come alongside pastors on the consulting side to increase their ministry margin. On the bookkeeping and payroll side, it's to increase to better produce quality reports, quality payroll, and decrease the admin work so they can increase the people work. That's the goal of Ministry Books. And so that's what we want to do. So it can be done remotely. We do site visits if necessary. But it's just a really neat concept that others have done before us. There's some good ones out there as well. But it's just something that we really enjoy doing. And for us, growing up, the concept of being in full-time ministry was only if you worked at a church and were a senior pastor. If
Yeah.
you ask my brother now if he's in full-time ministry, he will simply say 100% absolutely yes. I serve churches.
Yeah.
He just says, now I'm a parachurch organization and not in a church setting. And so our goal is to make life easier. And we have roughly 25 clients in a 2-year span. Danny's grown it well and excited to see where it goes on from here. And that website's pretty easy. It's ministrybookkeepers.com. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
that's where they can reach out there. Is there a way they can specifically reach out to you if they want to about um, consulting and all that?
Yeah, so there on that website, ministrybookkeepers.com, there's the services tab. You can click on that and schedule a quick 15-minute Google Meet through Calendly. We have that. Or I can be emailed directly, real simple, Fred at MinBooks. We try to keep it simple for the email. Fred
Yep.
at minbooks.org, minbooks.org on that.
Okay,
So,
excellent. I
yeah.
appreciate that. And these guys can help you more effectively reach your community as you get things set up, streamlined, and all those sorts of things. I know they will be a help to you and your church. You can also reach us here at Pastors Connection Network by going to pastorsconnectionnetwork.com or finding us on Facebook at Pastors Connection Network. Thank you so much, Fred, for sharing with us today. Looking forward to everything that's going to happen in this new facility God has led you to build.
And I just want to say thank you to you. I know I do this every time I see you, don't want to embarrass you, but Thomas was my boss on the grounds crew back at Pensacola and really was one of my best counselors that really helped me through a difficult season. I was a UNLV dropout, and Thomas basically took me under his wing at work and practically and just with grace guided me through my freshman year. So I'm very appreciative to you, and anything that I've been able to accomplish is direct result of your ministry to me. So thank you for serving. Was it 20 years ago now? And
Been
thank
a
you
long
for
time.
your impact on my life. And so appreciate you. And so.
All right. Thank you for joining us in Pastors Connection podcast. May you be inspired and equipped to lead with grace and purpose. Until we meet again.